Of men and women want men to evolve, but then women are still coming back to the idea of like the statistical thing.
Being uncomfortable here.
Now it's getting to get good. There you go. You sit a double clap now.
Hiya.
Hiya. We are here for another one.
We're back.
We are back to another day of feeling like we're trying to look like we're sitting comfortably at home. As
I'm comfortable.
No, you're comfortable. I'm not, because boss is under my feet and won't give me a place to put my feet, but she also will not move. So I will be sitting out like this trying to get myself comfortable the whole time.
She is who she is.
I mean, I guess it's better than her sitting back there lurking at us like a creeper, like a previous episode. So, you know.
So we're back here to talk about all things dating and relationships.
All things dating and relationships. Usually we pick a question, but I had a thought in my head.
Okay, let's hear it.
And that's because we've been talking about side chats. I've done one before where it's kind of the side video where it's just us having a quick thing. Maybe a quick side thought, so side chat. You know, and I was talking yesterday to you about something that you could do, but I also mentioned something about a thought I was having in regards to men and men in America and that whole concept of men trying to find their place in America based on just how gender and roles and things are being done right now. And then we had also had a conversation in a previous episode about chemistry and compatibility.
Right.
And so all of that was kind of just in my mind coming together with the idea of compatibility, men and compatibility, how males are viewed, men finding our place in society based on the new rules, but also being judged by the old rules simultaneously. I feel as though there's a certain lack of flexibility or lack of evolution from how men are viewed from the outside, even though men are expected to evolve. And then how that just creates a whole soup of craziness that has led to why we've dealt with so many people talking about they can't find things in a relationship, or they can't find somebody in a relationship, or there's this certain way they want a relationship to look. But then clinging to old standards of how the relationship should look and then not being able to find that person. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
What do you feel when you reference old news or old rules and new rules? What do you feel those are, so that I make sure and we all make sure we're on the same page?
I think some of that is coming from the perspective and the thought of gender roles and stereotypical gender roles. It's kind of what I'm thinking there. I know I referenced just recently, we were talking about if you're looking to date somebody and you want to reach out to somebody on the app and you're expecting the person to reach out to be male and to have all these standard stereotypical roles where the male reaches out, the male contacts you, the male
Or he
initiates the
initiates.
date, the male does this, the male does this, the male does this. But but you also want the male to have the functionality or have the characteristic of being vulnerable, of being questioning, of allowing the woman to lead and things of that nature. So you want the evolution, but you still want the old trait. And so it's coming down the line of those gender roles and thinking down those gender roles and how saying evolve, evolve, evolve on one side of the table can create confusion because from a male's perspective, I am evolving. I am doing this. I am doing these things. And then it goes back to what height are you? How much money do you make? Things of that nature. Does that make sense?
Yeah, are you saying that evolving of men and women want men to evolve, but then women are still coming back to the idea of like the statistical things of like how much money do they make?
Yeah.
What kind of job do they have?
Yeah.
Things.
To a certain
how
extent,
tall are they? These
how
measurable
tall are they?
things.
How much money
are
do they make? What job
Yeah.
do they have?
Yeah.
So the idea that if women are making more, getting further down the line in their career advancements, and so they get to this space where they have the option of dating more people, but the requirement is still that he makes more, that he's taller, that he has a professional job better than hers. So if you have this group of women who are moving further down the line, but the stats say that men aren't moving at the same rate, so you have this male side going like this, women's side going like this. We have the lines coming to this point where we're getting the equality that we want to have
in relationships.
the equality that you want to have in society.
Okay,
You
sorry.
know, it was still far off. So
I was
don't get me saying it's equal. It's not. But you're getting to
yeah.
this place where you have this thing where it's kind of you're pushing towards this equal level or equal balance in society. But when it comes to relationships, there's still a standard of like this. There's still the standard.
Yeah.
There's still the standard of, okay, yes, I'm making more money. Now that I'm making more money, he should be making more money than I'm making. But if societally men are making less or not growing at the same rate, then the ability to find that person who's making more money than you're making is probably less.
Right.
You know, or
Right.
saying that, okay, I want to be assertive, I want to be aggressive, I want to go out and find somebody who uh respects me or hasn't not respects me because that's kind of dropping that bar too low, but I want to find somebody who's going to come chase me, chase me, chase me, chase me, chase me,
Pursue.
chase me, pursue me, right? But at the same time, I'm not necessarily as willing to just reach a hand out and say, hey, I like you, I want to pursue you also,
Hmm.
because it should be a double pursuit here.
Yeah.
You should be chasing each other. It
Right.
shouldn't be he chases you and then you're like, oh, you got me. You know? So it shouldn't be that. So it should be some level of pursuit on both sides.
I
And
agree.
and if the idea is he pursues me, but he pursues me and I've raised to this level, this level, this level, this level, and I'm expecting this outcome, but there are less men who know how to pursue or who feel welcome to pursue, who or the one who pursues you doesn't meet the checklist.
Hmm.
And I think that's a big one where you have this checklist that's so finite and so defined that you have somebody who fits in there except for two things.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and the idea for me, and we've talked about the checklist. We've talked about the checklist being don't have this checklist that is just measurable stuff.
Right. And I think you could have a list of like these are some things that I would love in a partner.
Right, right, right.
I was working with someone recently and I was like, well, write that down. Like, get out your phone and write that down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Because they're like, if I have somebody that, would like to do this, that would be amazing because I like to do that. Or if I could have somebody that could do this, that would be great because that would, bring some more enjoyment or what's the word I'm looking for?
Fulfillment.
Yeah, into my life.
Yeah.
But those aren't must-haves.
Right, 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 right.
Right. So I think it's good to keep your list of like, this is what I would like really love and appreciate. But if they don't like to engage in this activity or, you know, whatever the case may be, like speak multiple languages,
You're right.
then I'm not going to like completely disregard them.
Here's a
If
question
they're
for you.
kind and loyal and loving and respectful.
Right, right. And but those
Right.
things, the kind, loyal, loving, respectful, those are checklist items, but those aren't measurable necessarily checklist items.
Usually not when people are going in on a date or like those are not things that you're seeing on an online profile.
Right, right. They're more
Yeah.
is moral based. I mean, they're more character based and
Yeah, it's
morality
more
based,
character.
right?
Yeah.
So here's my thing. Is there, or here's a question. Should you have measurable items on the checklist, on the must-have checklist? So let's say you have a must-have and a would like
Right.
and don't need. Let's say you have three. Must have, would like, and a don't need. So let's say there are 4 columns. Must have, you have to have, right? Would like is you would really like it and add extra points. Then there's a third column, which is, it's cool. It's kind of like
But not necessary. I would love it. This would be like a bonus, but I don't.
it's an
Yeah.
indifferent column. Like if they have it,
Right.
cool, that's great. Yeah, they can speak Chinese, but I don't have no use for it.
I would love this, but it's not
but
necessary.
it's not necessary. And then you have the
Absolutely knows.
the absolutely knows. They're an alcoholic or something of that nature.
Right.
So you have the things that are definite I can'ts, but then you have the other 3 columns.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever have a measurable in the must have?
Oh, I'm trying to think of now like the measurable things that we talked about.
So we've talked about height. We've talked about job and career. We've talked about often we've gotten comments that are religion
Yeah.
based.
Okay. So I would say I think you can have a measurable, like let's say in the terms of religion.
Yeah.
You can have that in your must have column. How are we measuring that though?
That's what I don't know.
right?
Because that was
Because
going
we
to be my
have
next
like
thing.
it's
Like,
a
is that
spectrum,
measurable?
degrees,
Like, because the question is, are they a Christian? Well, you can say yes or no, but there are different spectrums to how Christians practice Christianity.
right? Or you would have people that put in and that could go for any like box religion,
Yeah,
right?
for religion, yeah.
But we also have the degree
Politics,
of
by the way, would be very similar. But continue
yeah,
on,
because
and then I'll come back to that.
there can be a degree.
Yeah, continue on. I'll
So
come back
if
to
your
that.
thing is, oh, I want someone who is Muslim,
Right.
does that mean they're culturally Muslim, religiously Muslim? And you can
Nation
say
of
that for
Islam,
any,
Muslim.
yeah, you could say that for any religion. And so because
Right.
like we're in the US and the US is very like evangelical based or
Right,
like
right, right.
was that is shifting now. But
Oh,
I,
that's another
I want someone
question.
I want someone,
Is that shifting?
to be a Christian. Well, what degree does that mean? Do you want to have like a conservative fundamentalist Christian? Do you want someone who's more, I would say, like New Testament based,
Not, the- not
loving,
the whole Bible church, just the new.
yeah, like I want to like
What
love
they
and
call it,
forgiveness
the
and
whole
grace and
scripture.
mercy, yeah, those concept of it, which those then become also just character
Right,
based.
right.
As someone who grew up in the evangelical church, and it is still very much a part of my
Life
belief
decision based
system,
on
yeah, I wouldn't. I don't know if I would check that box. I would say I'm more spiritual than religious
right.
because I believe more in those, or I practice more in that, intuitive nature, the kindness and love and things like that for my own personal.
Yeah, the base principle versus
Right.
the structured format of
Yeah,
this, and
but do
this.
you
Yeah.
have to be a Christian to practice those things? Like, do you have to check the checkbox of Christian to practice those things? I've met a lot of people that would say, like, I'm not a
Right.
believer, but this is my belief system.
So that's going down the line of religion. What else would be the check? Because you could easily slide, for example, the religious question from being a measurable to being an immeasurable
Right.
because of the spectrum. I was saying politics is kind of like that also,
Mhm.
because people say right wing or left wing, and
Why
but
does it have
there's
to be a wing?
why does it have to be a wing? First of all, there are actually more independents in America than there are right wing or left wing. It's just you only have two defined parties in the American system, so we kind of forget the whole independent wing and
Right.
this whole
Because we
spectrum.
like to be very black and white, which
'Cause we
comes
wanna
back
be-
to the checklist.
I
They
mean,
don't make, six figures. They don't have a
right.
9 to 5 job.
Right. And so I mean, and what I was getting with politics is talking about males and females and just getting by gender, um, is that you have a lot of males starting to swing towards that right wing side of the political sphere, just because I think there is a clear definition of this is what a male's supposed to be right here versus how do I be a left wing male?
Yeah.
But once again, we're talking about a spectrum. But in the checklist of height, you can tell if somebody's 6'5" or 6'4",
Right.
or even 5'11". For example, I remember one time I had somebody respond to me to a response like, "Hey, you seem nice, you look cute, blah blah blah, but I thought you would be taller, so no," you know,
Dodged a bullet.
Okay, I'm like, okay, if that's
But
what
then
will be your basis,
yeah, like you're missing out if that's what
oh,
you're.
you missed out on a good guy. You didn't make the same
I'm
decision.
gonna say thank you
You
to
got
whoever
a
that
good one.
was. Thank you to whoever that was.
But that can be a checklist, right? Makes a certain amount of money,
Yeah.
checklist. Drives a certain type of car,
Right.
checklist. Dresses a certain way. We watched the show and we still have fun with the show because the woman on the show said she couldn't date a guy because he wore a V-neck or something under a dress shirt,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she could see this. I'm like, you can buy him a new pack of t-shirts, babe. But no, that was the hang up, the t-shirts.
Yeah.
So dresses
Had a
a
whole
certain
list
way.
of reasons not to say yes,
Right.
without even really getting to know
Without even
this
getting to know.
person.
So that's a checklist.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about a lot of other
Which
things.
that is very superficial. So for women to be saying things like, "Oh, men are so superficial and they're,
Oh,
want
th-
this,
th-
this, and this," but then a woman is saying,
have I
"Well,
not
they have
stopped?
to meet this degree and like they have to have this much education and this much money and drive this type of car."
Right.
That is very
Like,
superficial.
how is that different? How is that different than a man saying, "I want her to be this size"?
I
and look
don't think
this
it's
way.
different at all.
It's no
It's
different.
not different.
It's not. There's not a difference. You're still looking at something
Yeah.
extremely superficial and saying, I want to make a judgment based on this.
Yeah.
It's just his happens to be attached to the body, and hers happens to be attached to what the body is in. You know,
Well,
but
also
it's
that's
still
the societal
superficial.
view of
Well, it's the
this
societal markers
person.
of success and the societal
Right.
markers of what beauty is. But
Which at that point you're with someone not for what they bring to your life
right,
as far as fulfilling, but how you're viewed as a couple in society.
it goes
Don't you think?
so well back to the concept of skin deep and being skin like superficial and skin deep. You're only going skin deep. How do you dig more deeply, more internally, and connect on a more, I want to say intrusive, but that's not the word I want to say, but the more internal level? If the thing that starts and stops whether you even take a look at it is whether they have on the right shirt or whether they can
Yeah.
fit the right shirt.
Right. And to that, I would say this very simple thing: give people a chance.
I know. I know.
Like, give people a chance.
And I think that might be part of where there is a hard place for men in America. Because here's the thing I say, and this is why the conversation came up, where I was blessed to have a father who probably modeled somewhat what the modern male is dealing with, but did it back in like the 80s, 90s, you know?
Yeah.
Because my father was a very affectionate father who would say, I love you and give you a hug in a minute. My father was emotionally available, at least for the most part, that you can talk about in the 80s or 90s, you know? But at the same time, my father, and I think this is some cultural intersectionality coming in here, but my father being a black male had limitations on some of the money he could earn.
Right.
And there were jobs that he wanted to have that he couldn't pursue. And because he was a black male dealing with racism, when he became a teacher in one school system, some things were just tossed out and thrown against him to create some drama to make him move to another school system, which caused him to lose his years. And then he got what he was able to make somewhere else was less than my mother was able to make.
Mm-hmm.
And so while he was always working and had a job, he was still the man of the house, but making less money than my mother, which my mother didn't mind throwing out there quite frequently. So, you had to deal, and clearly she did it enough that I heard it because I'm talking about it now,
Right. Do you think that she would have been okay, or she would have been, how do I say that? She would have been okay with him making more money, or do you think she liked that power and control? And regardless, she would have found a way to have some power and control, because I do see that sometimes.
No, I think it's true that she liked the fact that she earned a little bit of money because I think because once again, there are these things where we consider things gender lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
We consider things gender line because, oh, the man makes the most money and he gets a definition of how successful he is based on how much money he makes. Are you telling me women don't consider themselves measure themselves on success based on how much money they make? I know several who measure themselves and the success they've had in their life based on how much money they make. So we toss this thing and say that's the man's side, that's the female side, and we throw these things up here in these gender columns as if, once again, they aren't spectrums.
Right.
So yes, my mother defined herself based on being able to say, I make this much money or I make this much money than your father.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, she went to work and came home. My father went to work, and then he often, because he wanted to be a general contractor, he really wanted to build himself do a construction company. So he would come home from work and then go out and do general contractor work. Now you throw the general contractor work he was doing with the teaching he was doing, he was probably making about the same, if not more.
Right.
But you didn't hear him go back and say, well, I actually make more money than you. Because
Right.
for him, it was annoying that she would throw the fact that she made more money in his face, but he also was one of those people who's like, he would not argue in front of us,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't necessarily always agree on. I kind of wish he did from time to time.
That'd
But
be a good topic to
what, argue?
delve into.
What, arguing in front of us or
Yeah, just conflict in front of
conflict in front of
children.
children?
Yeah.
Yeah, because keep in mind, I say argue, and I don't necessarily mean I wish they'd have these dragged out fights, but
Yeah.
I don't wish they were tossing pots and pans and crap. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
saying. But I do wish that they would have been, or he would have been more open with conflict in front of the kids,
Yeah.
so that we could see him stand up and say, "Hey, no, this is this." Now I know they went and did it in the room because I don't know if it's very different if you close the door and I can hear you. Like I can hear you through the door, so you might as well let the door open and let me see you how you handle this.
Yeah.
But we all carry generational things, and I think there's a generational thing coming from his father and his mother that he was trying to, fix and correct and change and adjust.
Mhm.
Um, but yes, going back, I do think my mother saw how much she made as a marker of success. But I do think I had a father who was willing to be vulnerable, willing to be open, willing to show love and affection, but who also wasn't necessarily the highest earner in the house all the time, even if he was sometimes, because if he's doing GC work on the side, he's not making it as much as he's making consistently as he's making a paycheck every 2 weeks from teaching. And but I do think he also was able to have that place in the world where he was very much the male, you know?
Mhm.
He was
Mhm.
very much seen as the male. He was
Like
very much,
traditional
yeah,
role.
he could go out and he'd build his crap and he throw on some clothes and he looks like a male who just threw on some clothes. Now, you know, by the time I started paying attention, he was dressed more like Bill Cosby. But you go look at the old pictures, the man was peacocking. He'd have on
Yeah.
the light green suit with the big old fly collar, and he was looking clean. And even in the 70s and 80s, dudes were wearing pink.
Yeah.
Dudes were wearing pink. Now, well, it's come back around, but now it's that thing where males got to wear all black, or if you wear color, it's kind of feminine. In the 70s and 80s, dudes
Earth
wore
tones
pink.
only.
Dudes wore pink. They wore rust. They wore bright colors. They were like, yo, maybe not neon because I don't think clothes were made
So
to have that
speaking of that,
neon.
just
But
sidebar.
yeah,
If anyone knows of a clothing line that sells male clothing that is bright and colorful and cheerful,
yo, for real.
could you please send it our way? Because this guy over here has a hard time finding colorful, bright
Outside
stuff that
of
he
black,
loves.
brown,
No more
army,
earth tones.
I'm not going hunting. I'm not going hunting. So I don't need camouflage colored tones. I wear camouflage, but
No.
I can wear something more than some black and blue and tan, navy and white
So,
and cream.
anyways,
Oh my gosh, shopping as a male is so boring. So freaking boring.
that's for another
No,
episode.
see, we were talking about masculinity
But
because
back to
those colors are supposed to define whether you're a male or not. Turn on all black, those clothes too bright, they're supposed to define male, you
yeah.
know? See, I can do my segues now. Check that out, Shawty. Check it out. But yeah, you have these things that are supposed to be traditionally male.
Yeah.
And then you're asking a male to eschew the tradition and define new things. And then as soon as he defines new things, he wants to be like, hey, look, I'm trying new things. And then feels as though women say, that's great. I like that you're trying new things, but I'm looking for the old thing because
Yeah,
that
I want
that
I
that
want someone who
checklist,
actually does this.
yeah,
I
that
say I'm
checklist.
progressive and this and that, but honestly, I want someone who is going to take care of me,
Right,
who's going
all
to
the way up
support
into the
me, who's
fact
going
that he
to
can't really fix that broken window and has to call in a repair guy. Then you're like, well, he ain't masculine enough. You know, well, is that
It
is
all
that really
comes
the
back to
definition of
like
masculinity?
give people a
Yeah,
chance.
because that's not the definition. First of all, we talk about definitions,
Mhm.
and that's where I have a problem. Some of the problem is what is masculinity, and then finding the equivalent. Because and finding the equivalent in a way that is actually somebody you want to date and talk to and be in your life. Because you can't define masculinity and say, I want a man, and I can say this both personally and like on the broad spectrum. When I mean personally, I mean like anecdotally.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I want a man who's nice and kind and who opens the doors, who's willing to listen to me speak, who can do this, dresses nicely, something, 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 whatever else is on the list. That is supposed to be the modern day male you want, and still honestly say from the point I was in high school to the point I pretty much found you, that stuff wasn't really appreciated. And by that time, I'm in the mid upper 30s. What do you expect a male who's in his 20s to do by the time he gets to his mid upper 30s if you haven't been appreciating him since he was a teenager? And then you wonder why. They're like, whatever, I don't care. I don't want to have relationships. I just want to hook up and go home because I don't feel like anybody's going to appreciate me. After
Mhm.
10 or 15 years of being dumped on and being
Yeah.
treated like you were just good enough to be a friend, but being told that this is what somebody wanted to be in a relationship with, but that that dude has to have so much either confidence in self, so much just perseverance,
Mhm.
or so much willingness to be beat up for decades, to be able to get to that point and then still feel appreciated. And we wonder, and then there's a big question of why aren't there so many males? Why aren't there a lot of males who either want to be in relationships or who I can find that are relationship worthy?
What if we flip this script a little bit
Yep.
and women who are very well capable of supporting themselves,
True.
who
Love
are
it.
driven, high achieving, assertive, all these very strong qualities,
Yeah, yeah.
and strong in a good
In a
way.
good way.
Because oftentimes,
I mean, that's you.
oftentimes we hear, well, I'm too this or too that. Like, men don't want a woman who's assertive. Men don't want a woman who speaks her mind. Men don't want a woman who's opinionated. Or they say they want a strong woman until they have one, and then they want her to sit down and be quiet. What
I,
would you say to women that say that?
I would say give it a chance. Try it. Here's the thing.
What do you mean by try it?
Here's the thing that I believe in that scenario. If you're saying men don't want assertive women, then the question is, are you searching for a male along the old archetype? And going right down on what I said, you're searching for a male who's along the old stereotype archetype structure. And you're skipping over the guy who is the modern male, who is the present male, who is the vulnerable male, who is willing to find a balance of assertion with you. Are you skipping over one for the other? Because this guy probably doesn't mind your assertion.
Or what about this?
Hold on. Or are you not allowing a male who might be in the middle, who might be somewhere along that line, to understand and find out what that is like? Because you keep in mind, you're saying I want a man who can understand an assertion. I want a man who doesn't mind me being a strong woman. Well, if he hasn't dated that for a number of years or ever, then he doesn't know what that is like. And it doesn't mean that he's unwilling to have that. It might just mean he has to understand how he fits inside of it. And I'm not saying it's the woman's job to teach him.
Mhm.
If that's a place he wants to learn, if that's something he wants to learn, he will make that step on his own. And he will show you that he's going to make that step on his own very quickly. Very quickly. I'm talking about within the first 3 to 4 dates, you will see him making that adjustment just to give it a chance.
Mhm.
So you don't need to do this for
And
a
if you
month.
see people making adjustments,
Yeah,
give them some grace.
give them some grace.
Give them some space.
It's the example of, and this might fall in the spot weirdly, but we were talking about men and women quite. I keep on saying bi gender. What's the other word for saying there's only two genders?
It's escaping me right now.
Okay, gender. Anyway, we're speaking in the sake of gender versus gender neutrality, right?
Yeah.
So when you have somebody who says, "Hey, my pronouns are they them," it often might take a second, especially for somebody raised by teachers, to get the they them in the correct place when it comes to subject verb agreement. And
Yes.
it's a subject verb agreement grammar diction issue, not a you issue.
Right.
And so it might take me a second to get to the they them, which I might say, "Hey, I got it. Just give me a second because it's going to take a second for me to get it correct." But I
Yeah.
understand
And
you.
please correct me.
And
I'm
please
trying to
correct
undo
me.
this. This
You
is
know,
not. I think that comes back to the idea of like the intent. Like the intent, like if a person is like you notice a person is trying to be different. Don't berate them for, a swing and a miss.
right,
Like praise them for taking a swing.
right.
So my question that a minute ago was,
So the quick wrap up:
oh, sorry.
if somebody is actually trying, like you said, give them the grace.
Yeah.
Give them the grace, and even help them understand where to go with that,
Mhm.
because they might need you to say, "Hey, this is how I feel," This is what assertion is to me, or when I feel
Assertiveness.
assertiveness. Yeah, this is me being assertive. This is how I'd love for you to respond, and have the conversation of how would you respond to that. Actually navigate the minefield together
Right.
instead of just saying, "Hey, their mine's over there." So the question
That
you
comes
had,
back to the idea of it is important to express your needs.
I mean, for real.
Yeah. My question was this. If you would self-described
Mm-hmm.
strong, independent woman,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel just as strong if your partner is 2 inches shorter than you?
Do I feel just strong?
No, I'm saying like,
Oh,
is
oh,
this
oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. So if the woman says she's strong and she's 5'10", but she's dating a dude who's 5'8",
yeah, do you still
or
feel, is that something that you're okay with? Because if a woman is saying men don't want like women who are X, Y, and Z, who are independent and strong and speak their mind, do you still feel that way
yeah,
if you are like go on a date with a guy who's 2 inches shorter than you are?
right.
Hmm.
I would. Not that I know, but I know the reverse, that or the type of thing where I know the reverse. I've dated women taller than me, and I've still been like, "Yo, put on them heels." Do that. So, but the question is, do you feel as strong?
Yeah, is this something that you feel breaks your strength or impedes you feeling?
But why would that impede?
I don't think that it
Because
should.
here's my question, right?
But
The
we know we
idea
see these
of
checklist things a
women,
lot.
the subconscious, right? The subconscious or the psychological concept of women dating a male who is bigger, taller than them is based on the idea of feeling as though you have a protector.
Hmm.
That's how I've always read it. I'm
I think
sure
so.
there's something around that will tell me there's some other level
There are
to it.
other things, I'm
But I
sure.
feel the big part of that is feeling, okay, I have this kind of big broad shoulder, big back, muscular, yada something
Makes me feel safe.
protector that makes me feel safe. If you're strong and capable and independent, you don't need the protector.
Hmm.
And then if you're strong and capable and independent, then not only do you not need it, it's something you could do on your own, which is kind of the same line of
It
don't
also
need.
doesn't.
But
Sorry.
it's not the definition of what this person's role is in your life either. We're not talking about cavemen going out having to fight off saber-toothed tigers now, right? And not only that, but it's so funny that the definition or the declaration of strength is based on some physical aspect. That nerds run the world right now. How many nerds are 6'5" and benching 350 and look 250? And yet nerds are running the world. So if you got, and I say nerds affectionately,
Yeah.
nerds are running the world. So if Cat is 5'7", but is off the scale IQ, has EQ enough to understand what you need, but dresses in the same jeans and quarter zip all the time, but can do everything you need, and truly values your intelligence. Are you really not dating that person because they're 2 or 3 inches shorter? Really? And he's the superficial one if he dates a 20-year-old.
Also, it doesn't mean that if someone doesn't fit these checklist items that they aren't capable of being a good
That's the
caregiver, being a good
thing.
partner.
I feel as though so many of the checklist items have nothing to do with the
They're
actual relationship.
they don't. They don't.
At,
People just
at,
aren't
at
giving themselves
most.
a chance
Yeah,
to be in love with someone else.
at most. The
Yeah.
height might do with sex positions. And that's not even me being funny. It's, the height might just help in sex positions.
But
Outside of that.
either way, by limiting yourself with these superficial items, men and women,
Yeah.
you are significantly decreasing your dating pool.
Yeah. So
Significantly decreasing your dating pool. So
Yeah.
maybe you can't find one because they're not out there. Maybe you can't find someone because you're
I think the
limiting
problem is that
yourself.
they're not out there. You can't find one because you're limiting your ability
You're
to
limiting
see.
yourself.
You're putting it on these lens and these covers and these pirate
Yeah.
eye patch and whatnot, and you just can't see that there's somebody there.
Right.
You're saying you want this type of male, but you're making sure you date a different type of male. And you're basing your judgment on whether you find the type of male on these things that are checklists but are not characteristic or morally based. And then you're wondering why you can't
Right.
find. You're like, oh, there's nobody to date. No, the person was right in front of you. There were as we said before, there are
take care of you.
multiple people. You've passed a dozen of them this week.
Just because they didn't
You
fit in this superficial box
you
that
skipped
you've
over a couple
created
of
for
them
yourself. That box is for yourself.
for yourself.
Yeah.
And so when you have that box, most of the time you're limiting yourself.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm saying. You got to have your must-haves. So, for example, mine was faith, fit, and fun. I mean, faith, fit, and what was it? Faith, fit, and dang, what was the other one? No, it was fun. Yeah, faith, fit, and fun. And it rolls so easily, I forgot what the third one was. But faith, fit, and fun, must-haves. But those must-haves can be fit by various characteristics, by
Right.
various physical checklist items. But those were my required must-haves. And so you don't get locked in. Like, have your must-have, have the things you need, but then you don't get locked into this space, because I fear for the men out there. I fear for the men out there who are trying to figure out where they're going in life
Mhm.
and where they fit in the world, because it's easier to backslide into the old archetype because that's clearly defined than it is to slide into a new archetype. And when you have somebody who's trying to find, once again, grace, when you have somebody who's trying to find their placement and trying to figure out how to fit in a new environment, we all, every one of us, needed that older family member or person in the neighborhood or somebody who, come on, baby, I got you.
Yeah.
You know, we all need a mentor or somebody who's just willing, not mentor is the wrong word, but we all need somebody who's willing to say, come on, I got you. It's cool.
Mhm.
And in many of these dating cases, it might be you're just a person that's like, all right, let me give it a try and see. Rather
Right.
than going, nah, he ain't tall. Nah, he don't make
Yeah,
enough.
he doesn't have a master's degree.
His job is blue collar instead of white collar.
Yeah. I don't like a guy with the beard.
I don't like a guy with a beard. He's a little too dark skinned or light
I
skinned.
really see myself with someone with dark
I
hair.
don't like his drawl or his accent.
Oh, he went to here to school. Mm-mm.
He wears the wrong colors.
Right.
You know, I don't think he'll
Give people a chance.
Yeah, give people a chance.
Give people a chance.
Give people a chance. You'll
And
find
don't
out
limit
too.
yourself.
I'm about to say you'll find out. I was going to say the same thing. Go ahead. My bad.
I was just saying, like, don't limit yourself. These are superficial things, and you're limiting yourself from potentially falling in love, choosing to love, because
Choosing to love.
choosing to love someone else that can bring a lot to your life.
Yeah.
Because you're not giving them a chance because they don't fit these, sometimes like meaningless.
Oh yeah.
Like height is a meaningless,
And
thing.
and giving other people a chance gives you a chance also.
Mhm. Yeah, that's definitely giving yourself a chance.
Give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
I remember one of the groups we were in, we kept on talking about and talked about with the whole group. You don't care about weight. Why do you think every male cares about your weight?
Right.
Why do you think every male cares about your weight?
And you know what?
You don't
The
even want a
people in
dude who's you don't even want somebody with a 6-pack and chiseled. Why do you think he's spending that much time focusing on you being like that?
Right. And those people who they went through one of our dating programs.
Yeah.
Have all gotten back with me and are in
Serious.
relationships that have said they don't care. They don't care.
Professionally, I can't be like, see, told you, but
They don't care.
see, told you. No.
So anyways,
But yeah.
give people a chance. Giving people a chance is giving yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
limit yourself with checklist, box items.
Get out the box.
We're here for you.
Yep.
As I sign all my newsletters, cheering you on in life and love.
Oh, so sweet. You clapping us out again? Go answer a question on the next one, because
Be uncomfortable here.
now it's getting to get good.